Okay, what I got here, I've traded this number 12 Budweiser car for another vehicle and some parts. And when I get the stuff in, I'll put it on the video. But this is the Neil BONNETT car, and what I'm having to do is pull the third member, the center chunk, out of the rear end. It belongs to a buddy of mine. He let me use it when I raced at Darlington. It had the right gearing and all that. So I've undone it. What this thing has got, it's called floating axles, and they sit in the car. They go into the rear end like a conventional axle, but then it's got a hub out here that this end of the axle fits in, and it locks in. And a lot of people will look at this and they'll say, well, that's on the wrong end. But who would ever say something like that? I don't know. But anyway.
I sure wouldn't, Fred.
Okay, I'll go around to the other side and show you something. So let's go to the other side. And this is what you use to pull them with. You don't need anything this big. This is the smallest one I can.
Oh, that looks like it's coming along a little bit.
Yeah, we're just about finished with that. We got a carburetor on it. The plug wires are lined up.
See, that magneto's looking good.
Yes, it's all wired. It's not, the plugs aren't in it. I just got it in the right hole. I got to verify it now. But the water's hooked up. The ignition system's hooked up. The carburetor's on it. We're just waiting on the header flanges where I can build zoomies for it, which should be here tomorrow.
Sweet.
Today is Wednesday. All right, this is the floating axle, and what it does, this piece goes over it, and it bolts in these three holes that are here. There's Allen head bolts here. When you take this off, then you can get to the floating axle. And this, I don't know if you can see it or not, Emil. See the nut in there? There's a nut with a bolt, okay, and you tighten it up, and it goes up against the axle, and it pushes the axle in, and that allows you to set the lash in the axle. So you tighten that up. But what basically holds that axle in that rear end is this little piece here with these three bolts.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Wow.
So to get the axle out, and you can see here before the grease gets on it, where it's splined. This is the female spline on the floater, and that's the male spline on the axle. Put this in here. Sometimes they don't want to cooperate. There it goes. No, it don't. You son of a gun. Get in there. We ain't going to run out at 18 minutes.
No, we'll be all right.
Okay. Because once I get it in here, there it goes. Okay. And I would like to ask somebody one day, why did they use fine thread on stuff like this? Because it's one of them deals.
Just to make you have a bigger bolt collection.
Mm-hmm. It's like stinking metric. Anybody that likes metric ain't right. So
It's
here,
just about the whole world now, Fred.
I rest my case. Okay, I'm going to pull it out, and you can see it coming out.
Yeah, sir.
And there comes the axle. It went out of gear. Put a chock there. The axle comes right out, and you can pull it all the way out if you want to. But we don't have to.
It's a mighty expensive wheel chuck you got there.
Yeah, it is. That's one of them fine products from Advanced Auto Parts.
Yes, sir.
The man that sold that to me did not lead me astray. Got it apart. Now we're ready to jack it up there in air and take the third member out. Watch your step. So we go up.
Go.
Okay, this is the underside of an old NASCAR, probably an 84 car, last raced in 86. Everything under it's massive, and everything under it is safety wired. And like here, the pitman arm is safety wired to the steering box. The, where else did I see it? The bolt here is safety wired to keep the tie rod end from coming out. I mean, they went above and beyond on this stuff. And the starter is safety wired. I mean, it just goes on and on. But everything under it's massive. The weight that are in these cars, and you can look here, here's the way they put weights on the left side of the car to make it heavy. You know, low and left.
That's a lead block.
Yes, is it lead? Yeah, it's a lead
Full
block
of lead.
inside of the piece of square tubing.
I like the way they have this exhaust going out.
Yeah, yeah, that was all done, but everything underneath, this is the original paint under the car. It was red and blue, and this is the truck arms. And the neat thing about it, the drive shaft is painted white, and do you know why?
No.
In the event that it comes out in a race and it's laying on this racetrack, you can see it. It's very noticeable. I've seen them white and black and like a barber pole
Okay.
going around in circles. But yeah, the exhaust, really, they've all kinds of different ways. This one has one hole in it right here, and somebody that was a good welder could patch that up. I'm not that good because this is really thin. And, you know, they use double bracing here on the frame rails. And I mean, just everything on the car is massive. This is all the shifting linkage. It ain't like your regular.
Are these Heim joints you're doing, or?
Yeah, that one is there.
Okay.
That was, no, these aren't mine. That was on another car. No, this is the way they did it. They set the car up.
Really?
They'd screw these tighter, you know, to change where the car was sitting and all that.
Cool.
No, this isn't mine. And look how they built these control arms. I mean, just unbelievable. And this car originally had 4 shocks on it because it was older. Then they went to 1 shock because they found out 1 shock was just as good as 4, or 2 shocks just as good as 4. Again, more safety wiring. You know, and you don't think about stuff like that. And this is a C-shaped motor mount. I'm wondering if that's what 61 Ford had that on it. And they even got the here, the motor mount, where they can adjust a motor to sit it.
Now the motor mount on this side is completely different too.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's been so. Yes, it is. That was a solid. That's metal, solid mount. But they can still adjust it. Look here, Emil.
Yeah.
See the
Oh, I see.
slot
that.
in it.
Slotted. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they can do that over here. But this one's got rubber in it. I guess that kind of balanced it out.
Yeah. Cool.
And come on back, and this is the truck arms.
Yeah.
And
Those are beefy.
yes, really simple system goes back.
And that's a Ford 9-inch rear end.
Right.
Sweet.
Yeah, Chevrolet couldn't build nothing worth a crap, so they had to use Fords.
Hey now.
Hey, I get a lot of hate mail. This is the inlet for the, most people don't know this.
Kind of motors in this truck again? This car?
And this, we took the Chevy out and put a Ford in it.
Oh,
It was
did
more
you?
reliable, yeah. No, I'm lying.
Oh, yes, you are.
It's got a Chevrolet engine in it.
Yes, sir.
But this right here is the inlet for the rear end cooler. The oil that went through the rear end, there's a fan up in here and it sucks and cools the rear end grease, because running 500 miles, you'll burn the bearings out of the rear end.
Okay.
That's something that's a little bit unusual, odd. And also, if you look back here too, these chains aren't hooked up, but the chains are supposed to be hooked up. And that keeps the rear end, when they pull it in to change tires and they jack it up, from falling out from under the car.
There's an adjustable panhard bar.
Yes. Yeah, you adjust it all you want. Now, they got electric motors that do it. The driver can do it.
Okay.
And see, this had the 4 shocks on it, and they took the one out because they built better shocks.
Okay.
And car up here, this is a vent. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
For the rear end. And you see it looks just like an oil cap vent, and it vents it out. It vents pressure off of it.
Okay.
But it also cools it, runs it through the fan.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if you can look how massive the brake, the calipers are on this thing.
Those are gigantic. Those I think.
Yeah, look like Hondas, don't they?
Yeah. Right.
So it's quite an engineering feat.
Yeah.
You know, they learn it all a piece at a time.
Yes, sir. Very cool.
So what we're going to do next is pull the rear end out. That's simple. Unbolt it, naturally drain the grease, and then pry it out. Put another rear end in it, and then it's finished.